dispatch center. If you get multiple calls coming in at the same time, or we get bad weather coming through, the storms and all that stuff, it gets busy in the dispatch center. I can only imagine here, when you got one person sitting in there, it's like putting them in a blender. We have to have those people because we're providing service to 11 fire departments in the county. Not to mention they're dispatching all of our ambulances and everything else. The transfer thing, I'm not going to say there isn't going to be a delay, but right now, the central, when they get a call, if somebody goes, hey, my house is on fire, I got smoke in my house, if it's one of the departments we dispatch for, they tell them, hold the line. It's the same one button. They push one button, boom. It's we're picking it up, and going, fire dispatch. Where's the location? I mean, it's popping up on the screen. We have the we're a secondary PSAP, so all the Annie and Alley information, which is automatic location indicator and address indicator, all that stuff comes up on the screen. All we have to do is verify that. The way our system works is once the call taker enters into the CAD that it's a structure fire, that automatically goes to the fire dispatch console. So the call taker's taking the information. Once it says structure fire, it's automatically routed over there. The fire dispatcher has it, they have the address, and they're dropping tones. That's all within this 35 seconds of time. As I mentioned, I guess to do justice to our system, how we can handle your needs here, is I would invite you guys to come to our dispatch center and see it in action. You're welcome to do that anytime. I don't want to take any shots at Ed because he's been. I've actually been. I was a cop before Ed was. So,
as I said, we have a great working relationship with HVA. You need to go over and take a look at their operation. It's top-notch operation over there. Yeah. I just want to make sure that everybody on the board kind of knew, and you're welcome to come see what we have here. We're a one-person operation. What happens is if something gets busy, hey, we call a car and we call someone else in, and like a snowstorm, and we deal with it that way. Because we aren't so busy, probably total calls for service, police and fire together is probably around high 5,000s. That probably happens in a month down there, maybe.
Oh, yeah. We're doing 300 calls a day out of this dispatch center right now.
Yeah, so they're running multiple counties. They have top-notch personnel there. We aren't so busy that we have the opportunity to talk to people who call us about issues that may not be deemed public safety, more of quality of life issues, and we help a lot of people out around here that folks don't really know about very much in our dispatch center. So,
let me ask a specific question. So if I'm on a wireless phone in the city and I call 911, that call goes to Metro Dispatch, and then they transfer to us.
They were
under currently.
Currently, they transfer to us.
But and that's an automatic response. They don't evaluate anything. They say, you're from Chelsea, bang, you go to Chelsea.
Well, they determine it is within the city limits, or if it's the fire area, they'd still transfer it here.
Well, that's all right. That's what I'm saying. It's an automatic. It doesn't. There's no evaluation. No, what's the nature of your problem? And there's no interview.
I'd actually have to talk to Metro Dispatch to see, but the only two places that receive the cell 911 are Pittsfield and Metro. And I don't know how they got the towers turned or something, so if it's in Pittsfield Township, they get it. But
I talked to Mark Breckenridge, you know him? And he seemed to indicate that was the case, that it was more or less automatic. Anyway, my real question is, under the new situation, cell phone, city, goes to Metro Dispatch, they would send it to HVA. Is that correct?
If they know it was a fire.
Okay, so they have to do the interview.
So they're probably going to ask.
They need to.
I think one of the first questions they ask is the general, 911, what's your emergency? My house is on fire. Okay, hold on. Again, the address comes up immediately with the Annie and Alley information. So they know it's a fire. Okay, it's Ipsy Township. Boom, they push the one button transfer to our dispatch center, we get it, we know it's 60 Township, and we're off and running with the dispatch information on it. The same thing is, what's your emergency? Hey, somebody just broke in my house. They know that's, police related. They handle that themselves, and they take care of all that stuff. So if it's fire or fire or EMS, automatically gets transferred to us, with the exception of Milan, Pittsfield, and the third one. You guys.
Yeah. Just gonna say.
Where am I? Yeah.
Anybody else, questions, comments, anything?
Vince.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the reason I'm asking the question is now we've added a new, or we will be adding a new station, the Lime Township Station, and I assume there'll be one truck and one firefighter there.
Correct.
If they decide to dispatch that truck and that firefighter, does Dexter Township and the main station, are they aware that that dispatch has happened and that they might be called up?
Our people will, yes. It will depend, any of the departments in Washington County can scan, not all of them do, scan other departments and activity.
Yeah.
But the dispatch center will know if they're out, the dispatch, and there's another call, the dispatcher then would dispatch the next closest truck, whether that's here or whether that's out of Dexter or Scioto.
That's not where I'm going. If the one truck gets dispatched from Lima, and the guy goes out there and he finds out that whoever called grossly underestimated the fire response need, and all of a sudden he's got to call back to some main station someplace, are they gonna be ready? Will they have already been alerted that there's a guy heading out to the fire and
If
they
it's-
may have to?
Yes, if it's a fire, then all of our stations would be alerted
Okay,
to respond.
okay,
And based on the information, they may call for additional assistance,
okay,
and so they can upgrade the response.
all right. Okay.
Ron, just one more. The way we set this up when we take on a new department is our people would sit down with Jim and basically plot it out. Our geo system is already in the CAD because every address in our entire service area is in the CAD system. So if 1, 2, 3, any street, the city of Chelsea comes up, it's going to give the dispatcher all that information. It's in the city, what fire department to send, what police department to send. That's a bad example. It's outside the city. Is it the sheriff's department? Is it the state police? Which fire department? And that's all basically set up with Jim up front. Is if the incident is whatever, your station 2 gets dispatched alone. If it's something else or an unknown, then both stations get dispatched, if that's the way they want it set up. It's basically set up to each department's needs. And then our dispatch manager, they have quarterly meetings with all of the fire chiefs at our place to go over any issues, global issues that are going on, any changes they want made or any of that stuff. And we can also change procedures. this MABUS, as Jim was talking about, this MABUS system is now a mutual aid, an automatic mutual aid system. It's a statewide system, but Washtenaw County's now adopted it, which we at HVA are also part of it. That's all automated, so if there's a structure fire in Lyon Township and it's gonna prompt station 2, it's also gonna prompt the main station here, but it may also prompt Dexter, based on the location, the nature, all that stuff. That's all built into the system, so it's, as you said, Rod, it's like cookie cutter. It is, it's like cookbook medicine, we try to take the need for the dispatcher to sit there and make decisions, on the fly, and just follow the thing. Ed was talking about the fire dispatch training. All of our people go to those classes. We send people, and he's right. There's no classes in the state. We end up having to send people out of state to get this training. It's like a 3-day training, but they all get that training. So they're all trained. Several of our people are firefighters, active or retired, current volunteer firefighters. So they've got some fire training in their pockets as well. So it's all based on what you guys want, and that's how we try to set it up.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to comment? This is primarily a city of Chelsea issue, so let me ask another question. This is a calendar year contract. We're gonna continue current operations till we get this signed, so we don't necessarily have to sign this today. What I would propose, with board's concurrence, is to ask Chief Toth to respond to this, each of these individual requirements, and identify our ability to meet those, and if not, what mitigation we could carry out. In the meantime, I personally, and I think, we had an offer here from Roger to tour HVA, Emergent. Is that really an official change?
Well, Emergent Health is an umbrella
Oh, okay, so
corporation.
still.
HVA is still HVA,
Still
and
HVA, okay.
and all the A's are still.
Still blue and white.
When you start changing their name, that's when it all goes downhill.
I know, yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has been to the HVA annual public safety, a public official get-together. It's excellent. It's like a couple hours in the morning. I'd like to get more up to speed on this. I think what we have here is a classic cost versus benefit. There is benefits to this. HVA does have, they do this, HVA is a big operation. Hundreds of vehicles, a massive facilities. There's economies of scale to be dealt with. Nevertheless, as Chief Toth points out, we provide a service here that the citizens of Chelsea have gotten used to and pay for, and we need to provide that. So it seems indisputable there is some cost to this transfer. Maybe it's minor, maybe it's not. I need to evaluate that myself. So I would suggest I will arrange for a tour, and if anyone else wants to accompany me, that'd be fine. We do have an Open Meetings Act issue, so we could do a board, if we want to do an entire board meeting, and we could do that as well, but it would have to post it, and we could do that. Is there a sentiment to do that?
It's a pretty impressive facility.
What?
It's impressive, it's worth
Maybe
your
set a
time.
special meeting and make it too.
Well, let's see.
We have conference rooms available that would, sufficient enough to handle.
Kurt, what's you're a working guy, so
Yeah.
you're,
Well, if I can't make it, I'd send my alternate.
okay, all right.
There you go.
Okay, so let's do that, and to be consistent, Chief, we can do the same with Chelsea Dispatch. That would be, okay? So, that being the case, I need to know from the board what your availabilities are. I'll send that to the chief and Roger, and we'll try to make this work sooner rather than later. I think we ought to try to get this thing done by next meeting, which means maybe in the next couple of weeks. And how much time would give us a number of hours we need to devote to each of these meetings? A couple hours?
A couple hours would be more than.
We want to, to some degree, get into the nitty-gritty on this.
Yep.
We want to be able to watch dispatch and see how, there's a command and control aspect to this that I think sometimes gets overlooked. So a couple hours for that, an hour for our dispatch.
Hour and 45 minutes.
45 minutes, okay. All right. Agreed? All right, I think this has been, any further thoughts, Chief or Roger or Jim? Are you okay with that?
I'm perfectly okay with it. I just asked, I think that Roger probably should, let dispatch personnel respond to the same questions that,
Oh, good
that Chief
idea.
Toth.
That's why, I sort of assumed that they were all, but yeah, could you do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you.
I will delegate.
Okay, we don't need a motion on this, I don't believe. We will, actually, you know what? We'll be setting up a special meeting, so I would like to, I would entertain a motion to ask their secretary to, when authorized, set up a special meeting to visit dispatch locations, and there'll be 2 of those.
You're gonna meet both in the same room?
No, not necessarily. Maybe we can.
We'll visit the HBA and
Chelsea Police Department.
oh,
Okay?
so a motion to authorize setting up a special meeting for a visit to HBA and the Chelsea Police Department.
Yeah. Is there, so,
I'll make that
yeah,
motion.
motion is made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving, setting up special meetings to visit dispatch locations, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion is agreed to. Thank you. Good, we'll make this happen. Couple of, all right, so, Kim, we have this institutional services account application. We-
Yeah, forgot the bank was closed yesterday when I called.
Oh,
She
okay.
did respond this morning, and it is simply due to the fact that, Ann Arbor Commerce became, and Michigan Commerce became Talmer, and there's a difference in the investment account, the holding company, the company that it's held with. It's no longer Cetera, it's LPL. And I do have those copies for the board to look at. So,
What we're asking the board to do is to authorize someone, 2 people, to put their names down as essentially the financial advisor, that's how they term it, for CAFA. And I was, who, this is a bigger package.
it's exact, well, it's exactly the same one.
No, it's not what you showed me yesterday. It's way larger. I mean, it is part of the same, but where's the part we have to fill out?
Right next.
Okay, so it's like 4 pages in, there's a lot of, essentially, this is the people that have account oversight. And typically, it would be the fire chief and the chair, and I would volunteer to be, this would be a page, in this section, it would be page 2 and page 3. You see it says on page 2, account holder information, primary information, and then secondary information. Kurt, if you would like to be as treasurer, if you want to be the representative here, I think that would be fine. Okay. Would you willing to do that?
Yes.
Excellent. So what I would propose is that the board authorize the fire chief and the treasurer to be primary account holder and secondary account holder for, what are we calling this document?
What was the term you used for that account, John?
It's John, it's the Flex Insured.
Oh, the
Investment one.
the investment account,
This is called institutional services account.
yeah, I think we call it, financials, I think it's savings 3 is the one that we've got on there, but, yeah, it's an investment account or
Let's just call it LPL Financial
yeah, I mean, that would
Institutional,
probably be the appropriate name, I mean, just the company.
LPL Financial Institutional Services account.
It is savings three.
Yeah, it's savings 3.
Okay, so, where are we on that? Do we need, I guess we need a motion. You guys are not going through this whole document, are you? You're here all day.
Some of it's filled out, isn't
Motion to authorize.
There's some,
Kurt and you and the chief would have the opportunity to go have a meeting with our representative there at Talmer to go over, to complete this, if you have questions on the document. So, her name's Julie.
That's an option.
Yes.
that's an option.
If
I
you have
think-
questions on forms.
Sorry?
If he has questions on the forms.
Right. But again, it's, Okay, is there a motion? Did you make a motion?
Authorize, a motion to authorize Chief Pear and Kurt Cossack as treasurer to be financial advisors for CAFA with Palmer West Financial. What else would you want with it besides that?
I think it doesn't, you know, is there a second?
Wait, I'm not clear on the.
Well, okay, so we'll go back to discussion then, because we have a motion on the table, we have either second or let it die. So is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. Now, further discussion.
I don't understand the motion. Could you repeat it?
Okay, we're gonna authorize Chief Pear and Kurt Cossack, they are our two representatives,
Yeah.
to be the financial advisors for CAFA with this financial institution. They would go there, sit down, go through these forms with them, get everything answered. They're gonna be the go-to people for CAFA.
Okay, but then Rod mentioned the account and the account holder information. They would be assigned as account holder. On page 2.
They would be on,
They would,
that's correct,
yeah. They would first
That's correct.
associate with,
that's
I'm
correct.
not sure where they sign.
Well, it's there's a primary, page 1 is where CAFA is filled in under registration information, put our tax ID number. So the account holders would be, primary would be the treasurer, I suppose, or the chief, maybe the chief, I don't know. Guys decide among yourselves. And then the other one goes in under secondary information under page 3.
Okay. Would be the primary information or secondary.
Vince, if you look at A1, under section 3, primary information says primary account holder is Chelsea Area Fire Authority, if that answers your question.
Okay, section 3.
Well, that would have to be an individual, right, when this is filled out? It's asked for social security number, date of birth, number of dependents, occupation, industry. That's where for example, the chief would, information would go in, and then Kurt's would go under
Secondary.
secondary.
Oh, okay.
This is, right. Does that answer your question, Vince?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, ask for the question to be called. All those in favor of authorizing the fire chief and the treasurer to
Financial advisors.
serve as financial advisors for this document indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion is agreed to. Thank you. All right. Unless I've missed something, I think we go down to reports. Chairman, myself, I have no report.
You added 90 accounting?
I had, what was 90? Oh, that's right. Payroll account separation, and that's, yeah, you need, right. Sorry. Caught that one. Treasurer Kosak.
This is from Johnny Anderson, a recommendation that we create an account. So we put payroll into that account, and then your source would pull from that. So, I would look to the chief or Kim to, it seems like that makes sense to do this, unless there's, some kind of.
I did email Pat Hanford about it, I spoke with him on the phone too, and he sent me back an email that said he would be fine. He thought it was an excellent idea, because I know for a fact that the other companies I worked for, when I did payroll for them, we did have a separate account set up for that. All funds get deposited into the main account, but then the bank can either do a sweep, or we can do a transfer online to the payroll account to, facilitate the payroll. And it's, as John said, it's basically a safeguard, eliminating, more access to our main account. So they'd have access to limited funds, And it makes it pretty clear for, the auditor, Pat was all for it. He said he had no trouble with, I asked him specifically, do you have a problem as far as accountability goes? If it's the chief or I transferring those funds to that account? He said no, and I had that in writing in an email for you if you want to see that. And then I talked to the bank as well, Mike Willis, or in the IT department. What other options do we have other than transferring it online? And he said that we could possibly set it up as a sweep, and that once that invoice from your source was presented saying this is how much payroll is for this pay period, then the bank would be able to sweep those funds from the main account into the payroll account. So there are a couple options.
Yeah, I would just want to make sure that it's set up so that, you know, if you're gone or forgot to do something, that,
I agree.
you know, that the account wouldn't have zero in it. We
That
want to
it
make
would
sure
not
that,
have zero in it, is that what you said? That there'd be a fund.
that the transfer didn't get made, you know, then your source wouldn't be able to make payroll, and that wouldn't be,
Right, we don't want that to
you
happen.
don't want that to happen.
Right, I agree.
So we're not setting up a huge administrative burden by creating this.
Which was my thought as well, that's why I asked Mike Willis, what other options, and the suite, to me, sounds like it might be the ideal thing.
Mhm.
Cause he said that's something that they, and that would be, I have the notes on that, I think he called it, there would be a one direction sweep, basically, you can only sweep funds into that account.
Mhm.
From what I understand.
That's common. I mean, with impounding like this, you tend to have a certain amount that's due, and so if the bank knows what that is, usually there's a day, like if your source impounds the funds and notifies the bank, this is the impound, there's usually a day or so, so that they could do the automated sweeping into the account for that amount. If they know what the invoice amount is, then they only sweep that amount, and then there's no chance for something to go awry and they sweep extra because of some clerical error or something like that.
Good.
Mike also mentioned that for that, in the sweep, nobody really knows what the balances are as on the account, or, that nobody needs to know, and if you don't want them to know. So,
Do you have a recommendation about what our action should be here?
Yeah, I think we should create the impound account if that's the proper
Or payroll account, payroll or
payroll
account.
account.
Okay. All right, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to have the chief or admin assistant set up that account. And we will,
Okay.
well, I guess that's good enough.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of having staff create the payroll account, indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion is agreed to. Now, I think we're done new business, are we not?
Yes.
Okay, reports, chairman, I have none, vice chairman has departed, secretary, Madam Secretary, none. Treasurer,
None.
none. Huh? None. Announcements, next meeting is, tell me,
oh, I missed that, sorry. You didn't go in?
This meeting is February 10th.
Yes,
Right.
February
Change
10th.
the meeting.
oh, that's right,
Oh, yeah, I didn't put it in.
February 10th, of course. Okay, next meeting's February 10th. Public comment. Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move to closed session to discuss strategy in connection with the collective bargaining agreement, and we need a roll call vote.
I so move.
Okay, Tom,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
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 Okay, and the move to closed session is agreed to, and we will announce when it's completed, but again, I don't anticipate any, what? Okay, don't anticipate any earth-shaking announcements. We will take a 5-minute break, 5-minute break, and resume the closed session at that time. Thank you. It wasn't too bad.
Yes.
Right there.
Mike?